Right. Hello, everyone. Sorry for starting the event a little bit late. We had some technical difficulties, so we'll just get right into it. Thanks, everyone, for joining in our Women Who Code event today, talking about what it means to be a solutions architect. But first off, before we start, I just wanted to give a little intro about what is Women Who Code, what we do. So first off, our mission is to inspire women to excel in technology careers. Women Who Code supports women in technology, right? And essentially our vision is for a world where we see more women in the workforce, especially in technology, and be leaders and engineers in this space where we are considered a minority, right? So mostly it's for engineers with 2 or more years of experience, but of course anyone and everyone is welcome into the community. And we try to provide support and resources for people to grow in their career in IT. So a quick code of conduct. So again, Women Who Code is an inclusive community. It is just to empower everyone who participate and supports the community, no matter where they're from, who they are, how they identify, right? It's just a happy, inclusive place where you should feel safe and, connect and network and meet people like yourself. So our events, of course, are intended to inspire women to excel in technology. If you want to help out in any of these events or host an event, please feel free to reach out to us anytime. There's also a campaign that we run. It's called #ApplaudHer. Most of it's on Twitter, but like on LinkedIn as well, on different social media, where essentially we want to acknowledge everyone's professional accomplishments, whether it's a new job, a dream job in tech that you've been looking for, or promotion you've been working hard, speaking at different conferences and whatnot, just, empowering one another in this space. And one more thing I want to say, just, stay connected with us with upcoming events and everything. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of the social media platforms that everyone loves to use. So with that, I would like to then just go straight into the panel. So let me stop sharing and awesome. All right, we'll do quick introductions to start with. So since I guess I'm speaking, I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Phoebe Kim. I'm a senior manager for the multi-cloud solutions architecture team at VMware. I've been at VMware about 3 years, a little over 3 years now. Before starting to lead this team, I worked a little bit as a technical marketing architect, where I focused on like networking technology and workload mobility between different clouds. Before that, I was a customer success architect, which is similar to solutions architect, right? Like one of the questions is, what is a solution architect? So we'll get into that. But as a customer success architect, it was mostly in post-sales where I help customers accelerate their adoption of VMware technologies, or adopt technology or design a system in a way that helps them solve their business problems. So that's kind of what I did. Before VMware, I was mostly in tech consulting and different system integration partners, working as mainly network virtualization architect / solutions architect. Yeah, we'll throw all those terms around. But I'm going to pass it off to Kim and let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Phoebe. My name is Kim Delgado. I'm a senior staff solution architect on the cloud incubation team at VMware. And I've been at VMware, my pronouns are she and her, sorry, forgot to mention that. And I have been at VMware for a little over 12 and a half years now. I've done a lot of different roles in that 12 and a half years. I started out in professional services as a consultant and I guess primarily as a consultant. And then I moved into the cloud management business unit and was a solutions architect / functional architect there for about 5.5 years, helped bring a couple of new major release versions of vRealize automation to market, working with product management, kind of triangulating between product management and the engineering teams and the field and customers, and trying to help, make our product, or, help prioritize features and make products that our customers could actually use. And then from there, I moved into the customer success team and was around for a couple versions of customer success before I decided to move into a solutions architect role in pre-sales. So in a lot of my roles, I've worked very closely with the pre-sales team, but this is my first time in just a little over a year ago, I guess, in May of last year is when I moved over. This is my first time in an actual pre-sales role, so that's been very interesting for me. But with the team that I'm in, we're really like kind of third tier specialists. So we focus on a lot of our newest cloud offerings and helping bring those to market. So it's actually doing a role very similar to what I was doing when I was in the cloud management business unit, in terms of working with product management and product marketing and product engineering. But now I'm doing that from the pre-sale side, more representing the customer and basically still providing that feedback and helping bring those products to market.
Thanks, Kim. And Angie.
Yep. So hello, everyone. My name is Angie DeWalt, and I am a multi-cloud solution architect at VMware. I've been here for, it seems like it went really quickly, but I would say like 6 or 7 months now, which is crazy to say. It feels like I just joined VMware. But a little bit about myself and what I've done in the past career-wise. I started off in pre-sales. So my entire career, I've always been pre-sales. So that's pretty much what I know. I started off as a solution architect at an infrastructure company. So I got to learn a lot about storage, servers, as well as networking, and got to take a lot of certs. So I feel like I had a really good foundation from a solution architect perspective. Once I understood the basis of infrastructure, I moved to storage because there was a need at the company I was at for storage. And so I worked with storage arrays for about a year, got to understand different customer use cases, being a solution architect, and really how to speak with customers and what they're looking for from a trusted advisor like us, being a solution architect. And in that role, I realized that many customers were moving to the cloud. So they would have their on-prem infrastructure as well as cloud infrastructure. So I found an opportunity through someone that reached out to me from AWS to move over to cover VMware Cloud on AWS. So I had an infrastructure background, and then this was a cloud role. So I was kind of able to merge the gap between those two. I didn't really know much about cloud, so I was able to really scale up on my AWS knowledge. And I took a lot of AWS certs while I was there, learned a lot about cloud, learned that many customers were moving to the cloud and having different solutions, whether it be AWS, whether it be Azure, whether it be Google. And I really enjoyed that role, being able to kind of be the cutting edge and leading edge of technology, because most customers were at least trying to get to the cloud. And then from there, I was able to land the role at VMware, which is a multi-cloud role that I'm in right now, where I'm able to work with all of these clouds and kind of be, again, that trusted advisor for customers and helping them figure out what solution works best for them. And I really like this role, again, because I'm able to work with all the solutions and I'm not really just siloed to one. So I think being a solution architect is really fun. It's an interesting role and every day is different. So yeah, that's pretty much where I am now. And I love being at VMware.
Awesome. Thanks, Angie. So again, I just want to say to the attendees, like, this time is for you. We're here for you to answer your questions, whatever you have about like what it means to be a solutions architect, maybe how we got here, what do we do? So I have some, like questions that we can go through, but just please like put them in the chat, put them in a Q&A, and then we'll cover those. But I guess to just get the conversation going, like, again, solution architect means something different to everyone, almost every company. Like, you can go apply for a job as a solution architect at AWS, at VMware, or any company, and literally they have a different meaning for it. So I guess we'll just like go backwards and start with Angie and say, like, what does it mean to be a solutions architect? Like, what does that role? What do you do, right?
So I think I can answer this one pretty well because I've had 3 different roles being a solution architect, and literally all 3 roles I've had a similar goal, but I've done different things in each of the roles. So I think holistically, again, saying what a solution architect means to be is, you heard me say the word trusted advisor. It's really being that trusted advisor for your customer to help them understand and be able to come to a solution to what problem that they have. So, they'll have a use case, they'll have a problem that they need to solve, and it's up to the solution architect to be able to give them the options that they need and allow them to make the decision. You don't want to make the decision for them. You want them to be able to feel like it's something that they understand and that they make, and you help them along that journey through whatever problems they're looking to solve. And whatever technical solution that you have, they'll look at you as that trusted advisor. I think being in technology, there's so many things that you have to keep up to date. There's new technology coming out every single day, and it's our job to really understand what is important about that news, and because it's a lot, it's important to understand what is important about the news that's coming out and how it can benefit customers. And again, how can we help them better understand our technology? So whether that be me doing a demonstration of the technology, showing them what that looks like within their data center, showing them a reference architecture. So figuring out what their use case looks like and saying, okay, this is what it could potentially look like if it's in your data center. So giving them a reference architecture, or it could just be, talking through their solution. So I think there's different realms of solution architect. You can have a partner solution architect, which for those who don't know, partners are providers that sell our solutions. So what they'll do is they'll have our product line and they can go to customers and pitch that product line just like we do. And they'll get a certain margin on selling our technology. So there's partner solution architects, there's core solution architects. So those are solution architects that sell a broad range of the portfolio. And I like to think of them as being broad, but they're not really depth. They don't have the depth of knowledge in each of the topics because there's so many. And then you have specialists. Specialists choose a specific product and they go very deep in that product. So you can have specialist solution architects. So depending on which type of solution architect that you are, I think a lot of that is going to be what your day-to-day looks like. And that's going to change from each of them. But I think the ultimate goal is to be that trusted advisor for customers or whoever your end customer is.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's key, right? No matter which part of the organization that you're in, that you want to be that, again, trusted advisor for your customer. And I think that's amazing. And I want to throw then this kind of follow-up question to Kim. I think Kim, you've been in both pre-sales and like post-sales, right? So a lot of the roles that Angie just talked about are mostly in the pre-sales side where you like specialize in one or in core. So I guess for Kim, maybe talk more about the post-sales side. What does that look like? Maybe you see some differences between the two sides, not that you've been in both.
Yeah, so it's funny because I was actually, my job when I was in R&D, because I wasn't actually, and I wasn't writing any code, right? I was in the actual engineering team, which was really fun because my manager really had no idea how to manage me because I was the first remote employee that he ever worked with. And I wasn't actually like an engineer. I wasn't writing code, right? But I worked very closely and I did a whole lot of, I basically was a solution / functional architect there as well. So similar role, but doing it from within the engineering side, which was interesting. But it's a lot of, making sure that the customer can use the stuff that's being developed, right? Like, and actually having solutions that are compatible with other products. It's like, I was literally just talking about this in my last meeting, but, engineers themselves kind of live especially, kind of like your MTS, senior MTS level engineers kind of live in their bubble where they're focused on a feature, and it might even be like a part of a feature for a product, and don't necessarily have that the broader view of the landscape of different products in a suite of different products, within a large stack of, and how our customers actually use our products necessarily. So having that a big part of the role that I was in was, kind of education of those folks to make sure that they understand how products need to interact, right? And how customers actually need to be able to use our products. And I still feel like as like I know, Angie, you were talking about like specialist essays versus kind of like core essays. And the team that I'm in cloud incubation, we focus on all of our very newest cloud products. So we are actually even sit behind the cloud specialists and back them up. So we're kind of like still a couple tiers removed from day-to-day interaction with the customers, but it's still our goal to make sure that those products work together and to make sure the customers can actually use what we're proposing to them. So it is interesting, Phoebe, like having that insight and having been on both sides of that equation, because now when I'm working with product managers and folks as a field essay or customer facing essay, they don't necessarily know that I had years of experience being on the other side of this equation and having to say no a lot, right? Like that's the number one job of a product manager, is to just say no. But I understand, like, you can't just automatically gift every feature that a customer asks for, right? And one customer, what's a feature to one customer is a bug to another customer, right? So having to have that balance is interesting. But I guess the biggest thing that I feel like, we need to understand again is that being able to kind of take a step back and see the bigger picture. I focused a lot on the products at our management layer prior to moving into the role that I'm in now, and being that layer that kind of sits on top of all of the other products means that was the layer that kind of had to force the compatibility and integration. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I think Kim brings up a good point, right? So obviously being a solutions architect, number one is helping the customer, use the product, integrate the different products, have essentially a solution, right? Using the technologies that you're essentially trying to get them to use, no matter what company you're in. And then second part that Kim mentioned is, in a way, you're kind of a glue trying to keep everyone together on the same page. Are you trying to, you have customers telling you one thing, you work with product management and engineers to try to get them to do this, so then your solution works, so there's a lot of those slightly a cat herding part to the job as well, whether you're in pre-sales or post-sales. So I think that's a really good point, Kim. Thank you. So great. So we got a couple questions here. First, I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not even going to say it. I'm so sorry. But so how do we keep ourselves technically up to date, especially with cloud tech stack? The cloud tech stack is insane, right? So I can first go, and then Angie and Kim can chime in as well. But I think one thing when you're an SA is, for me, I used to read release notes for the products that I'm like an expert on or supposed to be that expert on, right? And then anytime I had some downtime, I would pick like from my list of things I wanted to learn to go and like watch, A Cloud Guru classes or Udemy classes or, things like that. Or if there's somebody else on your team who is working with the technology that you want to learn, then I would go and like shadow them on their engagement, kind of see them, give a discovery session or a design workshop session with another customer. So then like after a couple of times of those, you can start leading some of the engagements in the new technology. So like keeping track with this, to be honest with you, it's just impossible. Like no one can do it all, right? So I would say obviously know what you need to know as per your job or your interests, and then have the things you want to learn and kind of go down that list, right? And when you're kind of thinking also about what you want to learn or what you want to tackle next, think about what your next role is, or where you want to go next, so that those kind of all fit together into, wherever you want to go in your career. So that would be just like my one little like piece of advice or 2 cents on that. Andrew or Kim, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I can add. Thankfully, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but we have Slack these days, at least at VMware. And so a lot of folks post in there like new updates, whether it be product managers posting it or someone who's just interested in that topic. So keeping up with what folks are saying on the team, and as well as other solution architects in the company, that really helps me specifically. And then I think another thing is I now run a call that's called the Multi-Cloud Experts Exchange call. And so within that call, we're able to bring in different people from different orgs to talk about the products that they work on. And a lot of the times you'll find information in there that you didn't know, updates that have happened. And so from that call, you get more information, and then from there you can go further research, what is applicable to you and your customers. So I think a lot of the information I get is through other folks, and just being connected and having a network. I think that's huge, and it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Angie. Like the networking aspect of it is huge. And that can also help. I know a couple folks asked, as a software engineer, how could they move into like a solution engineer role or a solution architect role? And like I said, I was different because I started out as an SA sort of within an engineering team, and then after a couple hops moved into an SA role in pre-sales. And the being focused on the customer from an engineering perspective, and what the customer needs, I think is the easiest way to learn how to be a pre-sales SA. Getting those contacts for, find your most difficult customer, and, get permission to work with them, and sit with them and listen to what they're saying about their struggles and the problems that they're trying to solve, then helping them understand how they can apply the technology that you're working on, or if you need to bring that feedback back and maybe make some changes to product features. And doing this before products are released is a little easier, so getting that input. I used to work really closely with an amazing PM, product manager, who would bring me along to a lot of customer meetings. So I was, for the first 3 or 4 years when I was in engineering, I was very customer focused and very tied to the field. I would go out and visit customers locally. I would travel and do customer tours with product management. So if you're interested in moving, from an engineering role into more of an SA role, start by trying to find a way to work closer with PMs and be on those customer calls and listen to to that feedback. And then you can't just take an idea from a single customer. Somebody else also asked that question about how we, kind of decide what our process is for problem solving, or deciding what should happen. And from my perspective, when we were doing that, it's really listening to an array of customers, and finding common threads in what they're trying to achieve, and then focusing on being able to deliver solutions that are flexible enough, but also deliver on at least those core core pieces of functionality. But yeah, you know, having an idea of what you want, where you want to go, and then figuring out that the trajectory to get there. And if you are coding now and you want to move into a pre-sales role, the number one thing is, you know, being able to talk to customers day in and day out. Is that something that you're going to enjoy and kind of thrive on, or is that something that's going to be exhausting? And you know, how much do you enjoy talking to customers, presenting the same slide deck over and over again, right? Like answering those questions, that sort of thing. You know, getting into those 200, 300 level conversations with customers about networking or storage, or how does this integrate with this, that sort of thing, is where you need to end up, right? Like that's ultimately where you need to go. But then helping find mentors or people that you can sort of shadow, I think is another great way. And that comes back, Angie, to the networking that you talked about, right? And so being here is a great way to start networking, right? Like being at, you know, the Women Who Code groups. Also, like there's obviously like meetups for different software, I guess, solutions. To some extent vendors, right? But like, you know, if you're interested in focusing on AWS, they have, you know, their little mini summits. They're like one-day summits that they have kind of all around the country in different major cities. And they have, you know, VMware has VMugs that you can attend to get an idea and meet customers. So there's other, you know, free public opportunities. It isn't just like the big conferences where you have to pay money to go, but those are definitely things that you want, that you can do, that you can get involved with for free. And then like a lot of these also do, you know, virtual options, have virtual options, but getting involved, I think at the, you know, at that level will help you kind of see what you're getting into.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So like, I think a couple people ask like, I'm a software engineer, I'm this or that, I'm a developer, can I be a SA? Yeah, anyone can be an SA, right? You can be anything you want. So I think it's trying to have experiences, even in your current role, like Kim said, to be able to get more of the SA, like similar roles. So for SA, I think the biggest thing is one, customer facing. I mean, you have to know how to talk to them. So I think now as a hiring manager as well, one of the things that I look for in an SA is the soft skills. So a lot of the engineers, I think, because, you know, you're focused on the one, you know, product or one little feature, or, you know, you don't really talk to a greater team or things like that. You don't present a lot, like you don't have a lot of those experiences. So soft skill, I think, is where there's a biggest learning curve for somebody coming from a coding and engineering background to trying to be an SA and to be able to talk to customers and listen to them and, you know, figure out what they need, right? You don't need coding experience to be an SA, right? Essentially, it's more about knowing your products and how they integrate and solutioning for the customer to try to solve their business case. So with that, another thing that I see when I'm interviewing is for engineers to be more detail focused and in a way, not narrow-minded, but you know, you don't see a lot of the big picture. So from an SA perspective, definitely trying to see the bigger picture, or like showing how you've done, seeing the bigger thing, how your maybe whatever you're coding on the engineering team fits into the bigger solution. Maybe demonstrating that kind of viewpoint is for you to be able to show that, hey, I can go be an SA, right? I'm not just an engineer and good at coding or whatever. So like when you're preparing for interviews, right, to be an SA, those are some of the things I would think about. So one, think about times that you talk to product management, like Kim said, right, gain those experience. Number two, think about customer facing experience that you had, even as an engineer developer. And then third would be showing your big picture mindset, how you are able to see the bigger picture and where you fit. So I think showing those traits essentially is what a hiring manager would look for if you're trying to transition into the career. I hope that helps. And I think that kind of leads to the other question of what are the essential skill sets in an essay? I feel like I sort of covered that, but I'll throw it to Angie. And if you'd like to add on to the skill set.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, like with the bigger picture, that being an essay is technical plus like the business side. So you need to be able to talk to like a CTO, a CEO about what their pain points are. And you need to be able to correlate how the technology can help solve those issues from a business perspective. So whether it's going to be to increase their ROI or decrease their ROI, or whether it's going to be to get time back so they can go hire more people, whatever they're looking to do from a business perspective, you have to relate that back to a technical perspective. So I think an essential skill set for an essay would be the ability to understand the technology really well. I saw Kim put in there that you don't have to know how to code, but coding would help you. If you know how to code and you're going through the challenges of a coder, that's something that you can talk to a systems engineer about and say, I know the pain points of a coder. So you can use that real life experience and relate to what the customers that you're talking to. So going back to the question, I think you need to have soft skills, be able to present to customers, be able to present to your internal colleagues. There's many times where I've presented to internal colleagues or had to teach other essays or other engineers about the solutions that I'm talking about. So having the ability to communicate, not being scared, and being able to communicate efficiently, I think that's huge. I think another thing is being interested in the technology and interested in learning, because you will continuously learn. I've run into folks in this field that think they know it all, and those people don't go as far because that's just a bad mindset. So you should always want to learn, always want to understand other folks' roles, and understand, just as much as you can, because that'll help you out and it'll help your customers out. The more you know, the better that you can give them a solution. So I think to answer that question, having soft skills as well as a technical acumen, that can go really far in being a solution architect.
Awesome. Thanks, Angie. So yeah, definitely great questions. Keep them coming. But I guess one of the questions I had, I thought would be fun is, what are some of the challenges for an essay? Like what do you not like about it? I guess it's another one, right? Because it sounds like everyone's here because we want to be an essay, but what do you not like about it? I guess, Angie, I'll just start with you.
Okay. I think at times it can be difficult because customers look at you as you know everything, and you don't know everything. So I think what I've learned throughout the years of being a solution architect is saying, I can get back to you on that, and I don't know what that is. There's been times I've been on a call where a customer says some technology they have, and I've been in this field for a few years now, and I'm like, what did they just say? And I'll jot it down and go look it up. And I'm sure there's going to be things I know about it, but it may not be the actual thing that I know. So I would say folks or customers, or even sales reps, thinking that you know everything, or saying, oh, my SA can answer that question. You're like, no, I can't answer that question. So
that happens to us all the time.
Yeah, I think that can be difficult at times. I think sometimes staying up to date with the technology, that's difficult depending on what you have at the time, juggling it. So I think time management is something I still struggle with a little bit, and I'm going to continue to work on it. I think as my role changes and as what I'm focusing on and as my goals change, that is going to continue to shift. So I think trying to prioritize planning your time and prioritize what's important. I think that's huge in this role, because it's easy to start working on something and it takes up too much time, and then you forget, oh, I have to do all this other stuff. And that can happen a lot. So I would say time management can be difficult at times. And then for sure, the thought of people thinking you know everything is crazy.
Yeah. Kim, anything on your side?
No, I was just gonna agree with Angie, being able to say, admit that you aren't aren't fully knowledgeable in something, but that you have the ability again to say, I don't know, but let me get back to you, and then going and finding those answers, digging in. Sometimes it's asking questions of other people on the team or people on another team. Sometimes it's just getting into the product itself and trying to find the answers. Those are definitely critical skills. And then actually following up with the customer is super important in that respect, right? Like, that's one of the biggest things that I did a lot of as well, both on both sides, right? Like both within the BU and outside the BU. But yes, definitely being able to dig in and find those answers is really important. And again, like having those that broader view of the landscape, and as well as I think being able to really understand what questions to ask the customer to find out what the customer is trying to achieve. It doesn't, obviously, you're there to make a quota, right? Like you're employed to make a quota, but you won't make that quota if you don't solve customers' problems. So,
Yep.
Understanding that, solving customer problems is really your job. Selling software just happens to be how we do that, I think is really critical. Kind of like finding a way to jam a software solution into a customer need is not really going to make you successful in the long run. So I think that's, being able to ask those questions, and those probing questions that can actually get to what a customer's needs actually are, what the customer's problems are that they're trying to solve, right? And kind of taking that approach is really critical.
Yeah.
And I think someone's asking about the difference between a solutions architect and it says staff engineer, but I'm assuming that's like an SE, like a solutions engineer or whatever, like the SEs. And do we still have SEs at VMware, Phoebe? I don't even know. We do. So we do.
Yeah, they keep renaming it.
Or core, right? Like they tend to be more core. They're tied to like the core sales reps, whereas SAs tend to be more specialists focused on a kind of a suite of solutions. Is my
no, that's correct.
SEs need to be broader but more shallow, and SAs tend to be a little bit more focused on the specific solutions or specializing in solutions that they're.
Yeah, at least at VMware. I thought I get Hamsaleka meant like engineers in the like product engineering field. So in that sense, a solution architect, the number one difference is customer facing. Solution architect is the face of your company. You are the one that they ask you all the questions, they bring you all their complaints, everything, right? From a staff engineer, normally to me, with staff engineer and the product engineering, you're aligned to a specific product, you help develop the product, you maybe have a say in where the product goes, or how you should approach the problems, like at a code level, right? Of developing the actual product. Versus solution architect, you have the product offerings from whatever company you're working for, and then you try to create a solution using those products to help solve a business problem. So a good example is, hey, this customer says, I want to go to the cloud as fast as possible and manage both my on-premises data center and my cloud at the same time. Okay, I'm a VMware SA. I'm going to say you can use our VMware cloud offerings, and you can use vRealize automation or cloud management suite that we have to manage both of those environments, right? I'm not the one telling you how is vRealize automation gonna deploy this workload into this with which line of Java code. Like, no, like that's not what I do. I tell you how the products fit together, how they integrate, and what does it ultimately solve for your business. So I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Yeah.
Said gotcha.
So,
I think
yeah,
you got
so
it, Kim.
there was another question about handing off as well, like, or like being able, how do we get involved once a customer actually buys a product, and being on the pre-sales side, so again, it kind of varies, like whether you're on the core team where you're actually tied and dedicated to specific customers, or you're a specialist, you know, from an SA specialist perspective, we're not, sometimes we're tied to regions. On my team, we're not. We're actually a global team, and everybody pitches in wherever it fits for their time zone. So we don't even have regional boundaries. But again, that just depends on the role. So at a, you know, kind of a specialist SA level, we help kind of in a specific part of the sales cycle, usually, you know, kind of, there's 7 stages to the sales cycles, kind of like networking. There's 7 layers. We're kind of in that layer 3, layer 4 to like layer 6, or like, you know, 6-ish, right? Where we get involved after the customer understands a bit about the solution and, you know, has some ideas and has questions, and wants to, you know, maybe get into deep dives or demos or that sort of thing, right? And then once the sale actually closes, we generally kind of hand off back to either the core team who has a tighter ongoing relationship with that customer, or we would hand off to customer success. Usually customer success gets involved towards the tail end of the sales cycle, and or professional services, right? So we generally don't get super involved post sales as SA specialists, unless we are in a situation where they want to buy more of the same thing, or they want to buy additional stuff. I think that's kind of my perspective, but Angie, you might view it differently you're obviously, our roles are not quite the same, even though our titles are similar.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It just depends again. So like in my specific role, I think what you're saying, Kim, is very familiar. A core SA could reach out to myself, a sales rep could reach out to myself, but I'm not aligned to specific accounts. So once I've kind of been that trusted advisor for the customer and given them the solution that works best for them, and they choose that that's the path that they want to go down, typically they'll either do a POC, a proof of concept, to test out that solution. And in that case, the core SA will be more involved in that process. And then if the customer wants to purchase the product, then they'll purchase it, and that will go more toward post-sales. And the core SA will still be involved somewhat, but most of the time, even core SAs will not be as involved, because they're working to still get more sales, because that's how their quota is. They're continuing to do more pre-sales work, because that's how they get paid. Post-sales gets paid in a different manner. So I think it just depends on where you are, but most of the time pre-sales SAs, once the deal is done, you won't be as involved, just because that's not how your compensation works. But I mean, you're not dropping the customer. The sales rep will most likely still have a relationship with that customer, check up on them and see if they need more of the software that we're selling or anything else. It could be another use case that they're interested in.
Yep. And our team does actually help manage POCs, especially for the larger, you know, enterprise customers. And again, a lot of it, our level of engagement also tends to be driven based on deal size. Again, because whether we like it or not, we are driven by by quotas. So it's a different, that's definitely a different mindset that I had to kind of get used to. It's like, obviously even from a product side, the, product managers and whatnot tend to focus on talking with and finding solutions for the largest customers as well, because they're also seeking, those larger deals. But from a sales side, you're even more focused on that from a pre-sale side.
Awesome. So we have about 10 minutes left. I answered one of the questions in the chat, and I just want to reiterate it for like recordings and whatnot. But the question was, a person asked, hey, I don't have experience in IT. I know cloud concepts. I want to restart my career. Is SA a good option? And at least my answer was, I think normally a pre-sales, like core SA or a generalist SA is a really good role where I think you can definitely start your career in IT, because that's where you can, learn a variety of different technologies within a company. And from there, you could then maybe choose a certain one that you like or a certain product, and then, go into more depth and, kind of continue your career that way. So I would definitely say a pre-sales SA role is more is easier probably for somebody restarting their career in IT than a post-sales SA. And of course, that's like number one question you should ask in an interview for a hiring manager, right? Like, hey, what's an SA in your organization? What are my responsibilities? How am I going to get paid? Is it pre-sales or post-sales? It's kind of like how you want to look for when you're looking for a job, essentially. So that was a quick answer to that. But with a couple more minutes left, I wanted to go into what is next, right? So let's say you become an SA. What is next for you? What are some of the options you see? I'm just going to pick on Angie again and say, Angie, like maybe, what's next for you? Where do you think you'd go? What are some of the things you learned in your SA roles that can take you to the next thing or next opportunity?
Yeah. So what's next? So I think I kind of had a different path. So I started off with partners, and I was covering basically what a core SA would cover. So I was covering storage, networking, and as well as servers. And I think from that perspective, it's like Phoebe was saying, it's best to start off in a core role, because you can understand multiple products and you don't have to have really deep knowledge in it. So it allows you to kind of touch everything, understand everything holistically. From there, I went to a storage specialist role. So that was specifically storage. A lot of customers had very deep questions. They would bring me in if a core SA didn't really know how to answer those questions. And then from there, I went to another specialist role. So specifically a specific product. So I had storage products, and then I went to one product, which was VMware Cloud on AWS. So that was another specialty role where I had to know a lot about the product. I did do POCs. I deployed VMware Cloud on AWS. So I had to really understand how the ins and outs of that solution worked. And then from there, I kind of went back to a little bit more broader role. Now I'm doing multiple cloud solutions, whether it's VMC, whether it's Azure, whether it's Google. I can work with all of those, but it's still specifically a specialty role. I think from here, now that I am a solution architect, there's many different paths that I can go in. I can go into something like Phoebe's doing. She's a senior manager. So she's managing a team of specialists like myself. She is my manager, but she's managing our team, and we have a bunch of specialist SAs. Another role I could do is be a manager for core, because I was a core SA before. But yeah, I don't know what I'm specifically going to do, but these are just avenues that I could potentially go in. Being so close to different products and being a specialty SA, I could go into product manager or product management for a specific role, whether that be going back to like a specific VMware Cloud on AWS, or going to HCX, which is our migration tool. So that's something else that I can do. Or I could say, I don't want to be so close to technology roles and do more of like a sales rep role. I've had sales reps that are aligned to me, but I think for me, I really like the role that I'm in right now, because I'm still learning. And I choose to start looking at other roles once I'm getting to the cusp of like, I'm really comfortable. I like to be uncomfortable and continue to learn. So when I start feeling comfortable with products, that means that I need to go learn more and expand my knowledge. So I think hopefully that answers the question of where I could potentially go.
Yeah. No, thank you, Angie. And I guess for Kim, And yeah, I know your cat went away. Where's your other
Right
dog?
here. She's just out of view. Yeah, puppy's making appearances, the cat's making appearances. That's the joy of working from home, right?
Yeah.
At least my kid is gone. He's off to school. So yeah, I only, like I said, I've had a few moves within VMware. So I've done, a variety of post-sales roles. This is my first venture into the pre-sales role. And we do have, oh, there she goes. You see the flash? She's up to her bed. So I haven't really had a chance to think about what's next from this perspective yet, because I still feel like like Angie, like you said, like I'm still learning a ton in the role that I'm in. So I'm not ready, I haven't really thought about what's next, but there is a lot of, growth potential within that track. And even though I'm relatively new to the role, a little over a year, I've been with VMware for quite a long time, and I have a lot of experience in customer facing roles. So I was still able to actually get that, and I have awesome leadership that helps. But I was able to get that senior staff recently, just that promotion just recently. So there's obviously a lot of different levels of like 6 or 7 different levels at the within the SA track, just as an individual contributor. And then it's, like you did, Phoebe, it's possible and pretty, if that's something you're interested in, to move into the management role as well. I think this is your first role as a manager, right, Phoebe? Like as a people manager?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've done that in the past. I'm pretty comfortable being an individual contributor at this stage. I love mentoring and especially the younger women on our team. Our team makes an effort. We always have like a new college grad in the works. We have one gal who's a couple of years in from her new hire role. She came in through the new grad program. And then we have another one who just started this summer. So we try to always have some really junior people on the team as well to mentor. And I think that's a great way to help grow yourself. So I guess I've been primarily focused on the individual contributor role. We also have a principal program here at VMware that is operated through the Office of the CTO. And so for me, that would be my next step, even though it's not really a job level change at this stage, because I'm already senior staff. It would give me a principal title, which and then tighter ties back into the Office of the CTO team as well. So there's a few different opportunities, a few different ways to go, at least here at VMware, and I'm sure in other companies as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Angie and Kim. Yeah, I mean, just to wrap up, I think solutions architect is a very flexible role where you'll learn a lot of both technical and soft skills. So I think from there, it's just your foot in the door to technology if this is your first place, or out of engineering. And then from there, really, like Angie and Kim said, anywhere you want to go, product management, you could go back to engineering, you could keep going up the solutions architecture, you can go to management like I just recently have last year. Just basically it's just endless possibility essentially. So thanks everyone again for joining today. Thank you, Kim and Angie, for being our wonderful panelists. And if you guys have any questions, please let us know. And Woman Who Code will also upload a recording of this on YouTube, so you can also refer back to that if need be. But thanks again, everybody, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank y'all. Bye.
Bye.